Hi guys, this is Connie. It's early Thursday morning, and I wanted to do another episode of Connie Reads Another Fine Myth. We are over halfway done. So now there's a dragon involved, and I'm wondering how they're going to resolve this story. We'll figure it out. Oh, it's starting to look more and more like the cover. I guess we just don't know who this person is now. Chapter 19. A quote. By persevering over all obstacles and distractions, one may unfailingly arrive at his chosen goal or destination. A quote by C. Columbus. Come on, Gleep, I said. Gleep, my dragon responded, falling in behind me. Now that I was the not-so-proud owner of a permanently immature dragon, I was more eager than ever to find Oz. At the moment, I was alone in a strange dimension, penniless, and now I had a dragon tagging after me. The only way things could be worse would be if the situation became permanent, which could happen if Oz decided to return to Claw without me. The place previously occupied by the Purvis restaurant tent was definitely empty, even at close examination, so I decided to ask the devil running the neighboring booth. Excuse me, sir? I decided I was going to be polite as possible for the duration of my stay on Deva. The last thing I needed was another dispute with the devil. It seemed, however, in this situation, I needn't have worried. No excuses are necessary, young sir. The proprietor smiled eagerly, displaying an impressive number of teeth. Are you interested in purchasing a stick? A stick? Of course, the devil gestured grandly around his stall. The finest sticks in all the dimensions. Ah, thanks, but we have plenty of sticks in my home dimension. Not like these sticks, young sir. Are you from Claw? You are from Claw, are you not? Yes. Why? I'm getting text messages and I can't see anything. I can guarantee you there are no such sticks as these in all of Claw. They come from a dimension only I have access to, and I have not sold them in Claw or to anyone who was going there. Despite myself, my curiosity was piqued. I looked again at the sticks lining the walls of the stall. They looked like ordinary sticks, such as could be found anywhere. What do they do? I asked cautiously. Different ones do different things. Some control animals, others control plants. A few very rare ones allow you to summon an army of warriors from the stones themselves. Some of the most powerful magicians of any dimension wield staffs of the same wood as these sticks, but for most people's purposes, the smaller model will suffice. Gleep, said the dragon, sniffing at one of the sticks. Leave it alone, I barked, shoving his head away from the display. All I needed was to have my dragon eat up the entire stock of one of these super merchants. May I inquire, is that your dragon, young sir? Well, sort of. In that case, you might find a particular use for a stick most magicians wouldn't. What's that? You could use it to beat your dragon. Gleep, said the dragon, looking at me with his big blue eyes. Actually, I'm not really interested in a stick. I thought I'd better get to my original purpose before this conversation got out of hand. Ridiculous, young sir. Everybody should have a stick. The reason I stopped here in the first place is I wondered if you knew what happened to that tent. What tent, young sir? I had a vague feeling of having had this conversation before. The tent that was right there next to your stall. The Purvis restaurant? The devil's voice was tinged with horror. Gleep, said the dragon. Why would you seek such a place, young sir? You seem well-bred and educated. I had a friend who was inside the tent when it vanished. You have a pervert for a friend? His voice had lost his friendly tone. Well, actually, it's a long story. I can tell you this much, punk. It didn't disappear. It moved on, the devil snarled, without an accent or politeness he had displayed earlier. Moved on? Yeah, it's a new ordinance we passed. All places serving Purvis food have to migrate. They cannot be established permanently, or even temporarily at any point in the bazaar. Why? Have you smelled Purvis food? It's enough to make a scavenger nauseous. Would you want a man? Uh, would you want to man a stall downwind from that for a whole day in this heat? I see what you mean, I admitted. Either they moved or the bazaar did, and we have them outnumbered. But what exactly do you mean, moved? The tents. All that's involved is a simple spell or two. Either they constantly move at a slow pace, or they stay in one place for a short period and then scuttle off to a new location. But they all move. How does anyone find one then, if they keep moving around? That's easy. Just follow your nose. I sniffed the air experimentally. Sure enough, the unmistakable odor was still lingering in the air. Gleep! The dragon had imitated my action and was now rubbing his nose with one paw. Well, thank you for your... I was talking to thin air. The devil was at the other end of the stall, baring his teeth at another customer. It occurred to me that the citizens of Deva were not particularly concerned with social pleasantries beyond those necessary to transact a sale. I set out to follow the smell of the Purvish restaurant, with the dragon faithfully tailing along behind. Despite my growing desire to reunite with Oz, my pace was considerably slower than that Oz had set when we first arrived. I was completely mesmerized by this strange bazaar, and wanted to see as much of it as I could. Upon more leisurely examination, there did seem to be a vague order to the bazaar. The various stalls and booths were generally grouped by type of merchandise. This appeared to be more from circumstance than by plan. Apparently, if one devil set up a display, say, of invisible cloaks, in no time at all, he had a pack of competitors in residence around him, each vying to top the other for quality of goods or prices. Most of the confused babble of voices were disputes between the merchants over the location of their respective stalls or the space occupied by the same. The smell grew stronger as I wandered through an area specializing in exotic and magical jewelry, which I resisted the temptation to examine more closely. The temptation was even stronger as I traversed an area which featured weaponry. It occurred to me that I might find a weapon here we could use against Istvan, but the smell of Purvish food was even stronger now, and I steeled myself to finish my search. We could look for a weapon after I found Oz. From the intensity of the stench, I was sure we would find our objective soon. Come on, Gleep, I encouraged. The dragon was hanging back now, and didn't respond except to speed his pace a bit. I expectantly rounded one last corner and came to an abrupt halt. I had found the source of the odor. I was looking at the back of a large display of some alien livestock. There was a large pile of some moist green and yellow substance in front of me. As I watched the young devil emerge from the display, holding a shovel filled with the same substance, he glanced at me quizzically as he heaved the load onto a pile and returned to the display. A dung heap. I had been following the smell of a dung heap. Gleep, said the dragon, looking at me quizzically. He seemed to be asking me what we were going to do next. That was a good question. I stood contemplating my next move. Probably the best chance would be to retrace our steps back to the stick cellar and try again. Spare a girl a little time, handsome? I whirled around. A girl was standing there, a girl unlike any I had seen before. She was claddish in appearance, and could have passed for another of my dimension, except for her complexion and hair. Her skin was a marvelous golden olive hue, and her head was crowned with a mane of light green hair that shimmered in the sun. She was a little taller than me, and incredibly curvaceous, her generous figure straining against the confines of her clothes. Or have you really got a thing about dung heaps? She concluded. She had almond cat eyes and danced with mischief as she talked. Are you talking to me? I stammered. Of course I'm talking to you, she purred, coming close to me and twining her arms around my neck. I'm certainly not talking to your dragon. I mean, he's cute and all, but my tastes don't run in those directions. Gleep, said the dragon. I felt my body temperature soar. The touch of her arms caused a tingling sensation which seemed to wreak havoc on my metabolism. Actually, I'm looking for a friend, I blurted. Well, you found one, she murmured, moving her body against me. Suddenly, I was having trouble concentrating. What is it that you want? She said thoughtfully. Even though it's not my normal line, I think I'd like to tell your fortune. Free. Oh, I said, surprised. This was the first time since I reached the bazaar that anyone has offered me anything for free. I don't know if I should be happy or suspicious. You're going to have a fight, she whispered in my ear. A big one. What? I exclaimed. When? With who? Easy, handsome, she warmed, tightening her grip around my neck. When is in a very few minutes. With who is that rat pack over my shoulder? Don't look right at them. Her final sharp warning checked my reflexive glance. Moving more cautiously, I snuck a peek out of the corner of my eye. Lounging against the shop wall, watching us closely, were a dozen or so of the ugliest, nasty-looking characters I had ever seen. Them? I mean, all of them? I asked. Uh-huh, she confirmed, snuggling into my chest. Why? I demanded. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but because of me. Only her firm grip on me kept me from dislodging her with a shove. You? What about you? Well, they're an awfully greedy bunch. One way or another, they're going to make some money from this encounter. Normally, you'd give the money to me, and I'd cut them in for a share. But in the unlikely event that that doesn't work, they'll pretend to be defending my honor and beat it out of you. But you don't understand. I don't have any money. I know that. That's why you're going to get into a fight. See? If you knew I didn't have any money, why did you... Oh, I didn't know when I first stopped you. I found out just now when I searched you. Searched me? Oh, come on, handsome. There are more ways to search a person than with your hands. She winked knowingly at me. Well, can't you tell them that I don't have any money? They wouldn't believe me. The only way they'd be convinced is searching you themselves. I'd be willing to let them if that's what it takes to convince them. I don't think you would, she smiled, stroking my face with her hand. One of the things they'll look for is if you swallowed your money. Oh, I said. I see what you mean. But I can't fight them. I don't have any weapons. You have that little knife in your undershirt at the small of your back, she pointed out. Oh, I had forgotten about my skinning knife. I started to believe in her no-hands-frisking technique. But I've never been in a fight before. Well, I think you're about to learn. Say, why are you telling me all this anyway? I asked. I don't know, she shrugged. I like your act. That's why I singled you out in the first place. Then again, I feel a little guilty about having gotten you into this. Will you help me? I don't feel that guilty, handsome, she smiled. But there is one more thing I can do for you. She started to pull me towards her. Wait a minute, I protested. Won't that... Relax, handsome, she purred. You're about to get pounded for offending my honor. You might as well get a little of the sweet along with the bitter. Before I could protest further, she kissed me. Long and warm and sweet, she kissed me. I'd never been kissed by anyone except my mother. This was different. The fight, the dragon, Oz, everything faded from my mind. I was lost in the wonder of that moment. Hey! A rough hand fell on my shoulder and pulled us apart. Is this shrimp bothering you, lady? The person on the other end of that hand was no taller than I was, but he was twice as broad and had short, twisted tusks protruding from his mouth. His cronies had fanned out behind him, effectively boxing me in against the dung heap. I looked at the girl. She shrugged and backed away. It looked like I was going to have to fight all of them, me and the dragon. Terrific. I remembered my skinning knife. It wasn't much, but it was all I had. As casually as I could, I reached behind me and tugged at my shirt, trying to pull it up so I could get at my knife. The knife promptly fell down inside my pants. The wrecking crew started forward. Ooh, and that's chapter 19. We'll be back for the next one tomorrow. Be careful with that and enjoy. Please and thank you. Bye.